always be willing to meet with anyone, talk with anyone. You never know where relationships will go. Even if you met 5 years ago and you reconnect, everyone's got something to offer, and hopefully you can add value to everyone else as well. So never burn bridges, and always invest in relationships no matter where the folks come from.
Welcome to the Build to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on the journey from millions to billions. And we believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more, all of it away to help MVPs. I'm your host today, Brett Swarts. And every episode we feature some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. And they share their secrets, wisdom, and success with us so we can all level up and make a bigger impact. I'm excited about our next guest, and she is out of the great state of Colorado, and she's focused like a laser on helping real estate firms grow and optimize their capital raising efforts. She has an amazing background with one of the top commercial real estate fund groups out there, and she's now focused like a laser on helping you as the GP owner of it could be a syndication or a fund, level up with your capital raising, and through optimization and automating your capital raise needs. Please welcome to the show with me, Lauren Brychell. Lauren, how are we doing?
Great. How are you today, Brett?
Well, thank you so much. And for our listeners to get to know for the first time, would you give us just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure thing. Yep. So I was lucky enough to jump into the commercial real estate space early on in my career with having absolutely no experience. So I had a great mentor who took me under his wing, and the rest is history. Spent most of my time in the marketing and capital raise investor relations side of the business. And now, to your point earlier, I help other people do just that, help them market and raise more capital.
Fantastic. And so before all of this, like Lauren growing up, let's take another step back, right? What was Lauren's superpower, or super strength that you feel like, helps you to help people today?
Gosh, I think the power of relationships is something that I, have had ingrained in me ever since I was young that helps today, right? Not only relationships with investors, but with partners and building trust and everything else that goes along with it. I think I'm a super connector, if I say so myself.
That's awesome. I love it. And so with that in mind, what would you say is the number one secret to optimizing and automating your capital raise?
Doing it in advance before it becomes a chore and before it's too late, before those leads fall through the cracks, right? That would be the number one thing to focus on.
So walk through what that means by do it in advance.
Yep. So a lot of fund managers or GPs, usually they're doing things 100 miles an hour. They are not taking a step back and looking at it from a 30,000 foot view of, okay, when I'm bringing investor leads in, what does that look like from warm lead to conversion to investor? And they don't take the time to actually go through that process, build out the steps, the drips, the marketing components that go along with it to maximize their conversion rates. And usually it's a fire drill, right? They're calling investors. They don't remember who they called last. They have no systems in place. And so a lot of things fall through the cracks, and they're constantly stressed about the capital raise. Okay,
that's very well succinct. And by the way, if you're ready to hire Lauren right now, just go to equity-elevated.com, equity-elevated.com. So that makes sense. So walk us through what the secret is to slowing down, automating, and just doing it properly, because that sounds very simple, but obviously it's not. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it, right?
Correct.
So what's the mindset? What's the practice? What's the rhythm? How long do these kind of things take to implement? Walk us through that.
Sure. So time frame wise, take anywhere from a month to 6 months, just depending on how robust your system is, how many leads you've got, what your goals are, how much capital you need. But it is sort of simple if you really narrow it down, right? Simple in theory. So what you need on the basic ground level, that foundation, is a really good CRM, really good investor portal. Ideally, your CRM sends out marketing emails and automates with your investor portal. You could get away with those two things that are working really well together for a while until you really scale up and you're raising tens of millions per year. But setting those up properly is where it gets more challenging, and making sure that you're utilizing all the pieces the way that they should be, right?
Okay, let's walk that through. Okay, so a good CRM. Is there one you're like, oh, this is my go-to, definitely use this, or what are your top 2 or 3?
I love HubSpot. I would say that's my top one, and I mean, there of course are others, Go High Level, Active Campaign, but HubSpot is great. You can start at the $20 a month version. That gets you automated drip emails. It gets you all types of great things, great connections through the open API, and that's where I would go. It's easy to use and it's very intuitive.
Okay. By the way, what do you think about Go High Level?
I think it's good. I'm not as big of a fan of it as I am HubSpot. I think the HubSpot reporting is a little bit more robust. I think the user experience is a lot friendlier. I know a lot of people do love Go High Level, and it does have a lot of nice features that are integrated directly, like calling, texting, websites, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now you said investor portal and then integrating the two. So what investor portal do you tend to go to? And then also walk us through what you mean by getting them all connected and working, talking to each other.
Sure. So I love InvestNext. I think it's a great portal at, a middle of line price. They've got great customer service and it's really easy to use. Investors like the experience on their end as well. So that portal really goes well with HubSpot because they connect through Zapier. So you can automate the information back and forth, which is very nice because what happens when you get busy and you've forgotten who you talked to is you can automate the information so that you're only putting that data into one spot instead of 2 or 3 or however, and the data stays consistent, which is really important when raising capital.
Okay. Now, what about like smart sheet files or those kind of other like project management softwares? When do those come into play and when do you not need them?
Sure. So I think really what it is you would graduate from some sort of project management software when you're ready for your first real CRM. Usually people are putting their investor lists in a project management tool or an Excel file until it just gets to the point where it's like, okay, I can't keep track of all these investors. How do I keep track of calls and notes and who opened what email, right? So I think even if you're considering raising $5 million this year, get rid of your project management and just get a $20 a month HubSpot account.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, to simplify it, basically try to get all centralized for all of the communication, all of the storage of the documents, all of the different things. Boom. And then why not just have HubSpot versus the InvestNext portal? Walk us through why you need the portal.
Sure. So you could probably get away without the portal for a while, but the portal really is the investor's interface. The investors aren't logging into HubSpot. They can't log in and see their distributions and their quarterly reports and download those and get their tax documents securely. So it's really a safety thing and to have a great user experience for the investor from their side. They can sign documents and wire funds without having wire instructions floating around different emails unsecurely. So that's where an investor portal would come into play.
Okay, that makes sense. And everyone, again, we're speaking with Lauren. I want to spell her last name for you because you may not know on the pronunciation, but it's Brychell. And you can learn more about how she can help you with investor relations and capital raising consulting needs that you might have. I'll be going to equity-elevated.com, equity-elevated.com. Okay, so I love it so far, and I love how you simplify it and you have the key steps. After you've done that, walk us through like the next step to leveling up and automating your capital raise.
Yep. Okay. So next steps are a couple. We'll stick with 3 just for simplicity's sake. One. Okay, so now that you've essentially got the foundation, now you're ready to actually go out and market yourself and bring in leads. So 1, social media, consistent cadence on social media. Find your voice that applies to your avatar and be consistent through whatever efforts you decide to go with, whether it's post every week, whether you go live every week, whether you do a Facebook group in a community of sorts, whether you do a podcast. Be consistent and stick with something there so that you get your name out there. Number 2, speaking of avatar, is really define who your ideal investors are so you're targeting the right people. You cannot target everyone with the same message, and so really hone into 1 or 2 of those so your marketing and messaging is effective. And then third one there would be ideally a little bit more on the techie piece is have a really solid website that also connects back to your HubSpot account or whatever CRM you choose. So again, you're not having to do manual data entry. When you have leads coming in organically, they're going right into the system and they're getting automated marketing drip campaigns so that if you can't call that lead within the first 24, 48 hours, at least they know that they've gotten in touch with you and they're getting more information about your company in the meantime.
Okay, so let's work in reverse order. So let's start with the tech piece and then the website. Is this where HubSpot comes in and then you build a HubSpot website and then it automatically syncs up? Is that the general go-to for you?
You can. I don't see a ton of HubSpot websites out there. I have used them before. They are great. And they actually do look pretty good. So you can absolutely go that route, or you can just go through the WordPress or any other hosting site that you'd like. You can easily embed a HubSpot form onto that website, whatever one you choose, to go back and reroute to that CRM.
Got it. Yes. Embed the form so it's properly connected to the CRM. That's the key thing. There's also what like the IP tracking too, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Yep. So you can set this up a lot of different ways. Usually we stick on the simpler side of this. I'm not quite as good as coding as probably some other folks out there, but really, if you want to be, you can add tracking codes and things through your website, into your socials, into your ads. And so whenever you're following your leads around, you're kind of seeing where they're hanging out. You're seeing what articles they're reading and where they're spending time online. Are they Yahoo Finance people, or are they getting their news off of X, right? So you can kind of track them around and really get crazy with that down the road. But I wouldn't recommend that to start. I would keep it simple for a while. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then number two, you said define ideal, who ideal, we said partner, I guess, or avatar is. You said avatar, I'm sorry. Avatar is. So walk us through, what do you mean by that? And how do you do that well?
Yep. So when you're trying to find new investors, maybe you're a doctor, or you used to be a doctor, now you transitioned into real estate. So you really understand doctors, their needs, their pain points, what types of messaging that they would grasp onto. So that could be an avatar, for example. Or you can look internally and say, okay, who am I and how do I market to more of myself? That could be another easy way. Or the third way is if you've already got some sort of investor database, you can look internally there, maybe pick your top 5 or 10 investors and study them. Where did they come from? What are their goals? Are they retired and looking for cash flow? Or are they W-2, maybe, engineers who are really data driven and very conservative, right? So pinpointing not only the types of deals that you're offering to who these avatars are, but who you've already got in your ecosystem or who you really relate to will be very helpful when trying to pick a couple of those, and then stay within those lanes and go deep within those personnels, because then you're going to be converting more than just spreading out your word and your messaging to anybody on the internet.
Awesome. That makes perfect sense. And then you said social media, get consistency, cadence, pick a platform, or, with the podcast, or pick up, Facebook groups, so that's pretty straightforward. LinkedIn, how you're going to do that, stay consistent to keep top of mind. Okay. So you've done all that. You got it all set up. You got your HubSpot, you got your CRM, you got your InvestNext. Boom. You've got these next 3 that we just talked about. What's after that?
So after that, you've got to really make sure you understand how to talk with your investors and close those leads into actual capital raised. And so there's a lot of different ways. Maybe you're really great at it. Maybe you're kind of missing the mark and you're not learning enough about your investors on that first call. I've seen a lot of people, on the other hand, pitch deals on the first call when you should be building that trust and learning more about your relationships and your investors, right? So really take a step back and look internally and say, hey, am I the best investor relations person that I can be? Yes, no, okay, let's look at their track record. Have we missed 95% of investors that have come in because we pitched too early, or because we can't sell ourselves and we're just holding back, or what's the deal there? So putting together, training on how to best chat with your investors, build those relationships truly. And then also make sure you've got a plan in place for how you're going to reach out to these leads. Again, if you're a small firm, you're the CEO or someone who's got a lot of different things to do in the business, but you're also in charge of following up with the leads, make sure that piece is somewhat automated. So when they come in, you have an easy way to follow up with them, and then set an auto reminder to follow up with them again and again. You have to call leads 5 to 7 times on average before you actually get connected in a good way that's actually going to move forward, right? And that's where a lot of people miss, is they call the lead maybe 1 or 2 times, they forget about them, their systems aren't organized, so they kind of fall through the cracks. And next thing you know, the other guy who's doing multifamily down the road has that 5 to 7 call cadence. They're keeping in touch with them, and they're going to place their capital elsewhere.
We're speaking with Lauren Brychell, and you can learn more by going to equity-elevated.com, equity-elevated.com. Lauren, we met at the Family Office Club, right? Even before that, we met at like real estate conference, I think the best ever real estate conference or something like that. And so what have you learned now? Like you're working with a big group in the past, and then now you're going like, hey, I'm starting my own thing. So what's been the biggest, two lessons maybe you've learned since kind of going and starting your own thing?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. So biggest two lessons I've learned, I would say the number one thing is the trends are always changing. The top events are always changing. And it's been extra important now, especially because I'm advising people on where to go and spend their time and resources, staying on top of the best events, tech stacks, AI, for example. That's been a big lesson and a big curve to really make sure that I'm staying on top of that I didn't used to have to worry about in the past when I wasn't in charge. And let's see, the second lesson is, which, goes back to building relationships, but always be willing to meet with anyone, talk with anyone. You never know where relationships will go. Even if you met 5 years ago and you reconnect, everyone's got something to offer, and hopefully you can add value to everyone else as well. So never burn bridges, and always invest in relationships, no matter where the folks come from.
Fantastic. Let's dive into that first one. Right. So what are the best tech stacks? And we talked about the HubSpot. I mean, what are some of the top AI stuff maybe that you're finding is like, wow, this is really, the top thing that everyone should know about right now?
Yeah. So 11 Labs is one that I've been playing around with a lot recently. It's really interesting. You can clone your own voice. You can do a ton of things with that, right? Create your own bots. So that's just kind of fun. Obviously, there's a lot of uses for that. Let's see. Gamma is one that, it's not perfect yet, but you can do a lot on the marketing side with building pitch decks or presentations really quickly. Obviously, spending a lot of time tweaking them as well. That's been one that's been pretty fun. Expandi, I believe is what it's called, is a fun one for LinkedIn that been playing around with for new leads and connecting that with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So those are some that have come to mind recently that have been worth looking into.
Awesome. And what about the events? Like, is there something, hotter and better than the Family Office Club? Or like, what do you got?
Yes. If you're looking for family office events, I've really enjoyed the Jets and Capital events. They host every quarter around the country. They're in a private jet hangar, so it's very cool. But they really do have a great, allocator to capital raiser ratio, where they're heavier on the allocator side. They're pretty careful about who they let in, and you've got to be vetted, which is great because it's really hard to find events with lots of investors these days. The blue oceans are shrinking and changing daily. So.
Okay, so that's one of them. Excellent. Good. So, right, you ready for the lightning round?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, before the lightning round, let's geek out a little bit with capital gains tax, right? So, you've had a chance. I think a couple of years ago, right? You had a chance to see and learn about what we do, building capital gains tax exit plans, deferring tax, eliminated the 1031 exchange, to be able to flow the capital, or we call it unlock the capital, or flow the capital freely into funds and into syndications, right? Any asset of any kind, right? So I'm curious, like, what should everybody know about what I do that you would like to share with them?
Well, the thing that I think everyone should know is that they should just know it exists. So many people just don't know that they have options. And even though all we do every day is put out education, we think everyone in the world knows about it. There's so many people who just absolutely don't know, and they're stuck in these tough situations. So if you've got any sort of exit or big gain, it's worth checking out, because either you can't quickly Google, hey, how do I, help my tax situation or whatever that might look like. It's just crazy how the education is kind of in our bubble, and it's hard to burst out. So that's
really well said. By the way, if you want to learn more, you go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. So if you have $1 million plus exit on Bitcoin, business, real estate, or any asset of any kind, we can defer the tax not using a 1031 exchange, and then you can diversify and to invest into LP positions. You could go into the stock market. You can go into Bitcoin. You can go into debt. There's no like-kind replacement requirement. It's really transformational for families and for individuals. So just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. Cool. All right, here we go. Now you're ready for the lightning round.
Ready.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one gold nugget make sure you tell yourself to do?
keep having fun every day.
Question number 2, what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most the past year?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
What's your favorite part about that book?
I just love how it shifts your mindset from traditional thinking, what you learn in school, to how you should actually be thinking if you want to become wealthy and financially free.
Question number 3, what are you most curious about right now?
I am most curious about, honestly, bonus depreciation, and if that's going to go away forever.
Well, did you see that they're saying 100% as of the last couple of days? Like, what do you? I actually think it's the other way, right? What do you mean by going away forever?
Well, I hope it's coming back, right? I mean, I've seen so many different news articles, so many different ways that I hope that it comes back for good, at least for the next couple of years, and investors can keep taking advantage of that.
I do too, right? Yeah, because that's a big part of it, right? And so we'll see what happens there. All right, I like that. Next question. Number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if I have a quote per se, but I mean, maybe treat everyone as you'd like to be treated. I know that's not like a super popular leadership quote, but that's how I think about leadership when I have teammates.
It's great. So we already kind of did the AI question already for the top AI. All right, so we'll just wrap it up with this last one. I mean, after all your success, helping all the people you've helped, how do you best stay centered in your values and then stay encouraged to charge forward to reach even higher heights?
Honestly, I mean, I really am energized by seeing people succeed and making a difference in their lives and businesses. So that keeps me centered every day. What I do is very niche, and, to me, it's not easy, but it's, easier than for them. And it really does help make a difference in their lives. And I'm always so excited to see that.
Amazing. Lauren, I want to thank you for the show. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. You dropped a ton of wisdom in a concise manner, which we also appreciate. I want to encourage you to keep using the power of building great relationships and adding value every day for the fund managers, the multifamily operators, those who are raising capital out there. Multifamily, any doesn't have to be multifamily, anything, right? It can be industrial, and it could be mobile home park, it could be debt funds, it could be all the different things. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you mind one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
Sure thing. Equity-elevated.com is my website, or Lauren Brychell on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere else.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. I also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Building Billions podcast. We're also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. And we're on this journey with you to scale it from millions to billions so we can give more, all of it away. We want to encourage you to take action today. If you do not have your systems, you don't have your CRM, you don't have your investor portal, you don't have all the things that Lauren just talked about, like, what are you waiting for? Like, give her, connect with her, hire her, and help her to help you build it all out today. Don't wait. You and your investors and your clients deserve the best, and Lauren will bring the best for you. And of course, if you have a massive exit coming up, do not wait as well. Connect with us so we can prepare and plan a capital gains tax exit plan that can unlock freedom and capital for you to make a big impact for your life, defer all that capital gains taxes, all the things that can happen on an exit once you have more to work with. Just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com for that. Appreciate everyone listening or watching out there. I'm Brett Swarts, and find me on all the other channels too if you want to connect me. Thanks. Bye.